Have you ever caught someone in a lie so obvious that it made you question everything you thought you knew about them? That's exactly what happened to me. My wife Sarah and I had been married for 3 years. We weren't perfect, but I truly believe we had a strong foundation built on trust, love, and commitment. Or at least that's what I thought. In the beginning, our relationship was effortless. We had fun together, constantly laughing over inside jokes, sharing late night conversations that stretched until dawn. And she was my best friend, my partner in crime, the woman I thought I'd grow old with. Sarah was never the type to keep secrets. If anything, she used to overshare, texting me random updates about her day, calling just to say she missed me, excitedly telling me about the funny thing her coworker did. I never once had to wonder where she was, or what she was doing, because she always made sure I knew. But lately something had felt off. It started small, subtle changes in her behavior, little white lies that didn't quite add up. Sarah had always been affectionate and present, but over the past few months she had become distant. She was suddenly working late more often, coming home tired, distracted, and less engaged. Our conversations grew shorter, our moments together felt forced, and intimacy became rare. At first I told myself I was overthinking. Maybe she really was just overwhelmed at work. Maybe the stress was getting to her. But then things started getting stranger. One night she mentioned an urgent deadline, saying she'd be at the office late. I nodded, kissed her goodbye, and told her to take it easy. But something gnawed at me, a gut feeling I couldn't shake. Sarah had been working at the same company for years. I knew her schedule inside and out, and she had never once mentioned working late this frequently before. Still, I tried to silence my doubts. I wanted to trust her. I needed to trust her. But then she started being extra cautious with her phone, always keeping it face down, stepping away to take calls, texting late at night with a strange, guarded expression. When I casually asked who she was talking to, she'd wave it off with a quick, just work stuff. That night, as I sat alone in our apartment, something in me snapped. I needed answers. I picked up my phone and opened the location sharing app we had installed on each other's phones long ago for emergencies. I hesitated for a moment, my conscience screaming at me to stop. But curiosity, no, fear, got the best of me. My heart pounded as the screen loaded. I expected to see Sarah at her office building. She wasn't there. Instead, her location showed her across town, in a neighborhood I didn't recognize. A quiet residential area, not a workplace, not anywhere she should have been. My stomach twisted into a painful knot. If she wasn't at work, where was she? And more importantly, who was she with? I stared at my phone screen, my pulse pounding in my ears. My wife wasn't at work. She was somewhere else, somewhere I'd never heard her mention before. At that moment, 100 possibilities ran through my mind. Maybe she had stopped by a friend's house? Maybe she was running an errand and just hadn't told me. I wanted to believe there was a logical explanation, something that would prove my gut feeling wrong. But deep down, I knew better. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to think rationally. Jumping to conclusions wouldn't help. I needed to be smart about this. So instead of calling her and demanding answers, I decided to wait. I'd check her location again in an hour and see if she was still there. Every minute felt like an eternity. An hour passed, then another. I checked her location again. She was still there. A quiet residential street. No stores, no office buildings, no logical reason for her to be in that area at this time of night. That was the moment my doubts became certainty. The next morning I couldn't shake the thoughts from my head. I decided to casually ask Sarah about her night, hoping to catch any inconsistencies. "How was work?" I asked over breakfast, keeping my voice neutral. She didn't even look up from her phone. "Exhausting," she sighed. "We had to stay super late. I barely got anything done." I studied her carefully. She was scrolling through Instagram, completely disengaged from our conversation. "You must be really busy these days," I added casually. "I feel like we barely see each other anymore." She sighed, annoyed. "It's just temporary. Things will settle down soon." She said it so easily, so naturally, like she had no idea she had just lied to my face. I noticed more things that morning, subtle but telling. She barely touched her coffee, even though she usually wouldn't function without it. She was dressed unusually well for work. Heels, makeup done, even perfume. It wasn't uncommon for her to want to look nice, but this was different. She barely acknowledged me before grabbing her bag and heading for the door. No goodbye kiss, no lingering touch like she used to. Just a distracted wave over her shoulder. Don't wait up tonight, she added before shutting the door behind her. Her words echoed in my mind long after she left. I clenched my jaw, gripping my coffee mug tightly. My gut screamed at me that something was happening, something she didn't want me to know. Later that day, at work, I pulled up the address she had been visiting. I typed it into Google Maps, hoping to find a clue. Anything that could tell me what she was doing there. But the search results showed nothing unusual. It was just a house. Whose house? I had no way of knowing. Not yet. Then by pure coincidence, the answer came to me in the most unexpected way. That afternoon I was in the break room, barely paying attention to a conversation between a few coworkers. Then something snapped me back to reality. Man, Ryan's place is nice, one of them said. He finally bought that house on Westbrook Avenue. I froze. Westbrook Avenue. My heart started hammering in my chest. Ryan? I asked, forcing my voice to stay casual. Yeah, another coworker chimed in. You know, Ryan Carter. Dude finally moved in last month. We should all get together there sometime. It took everything in me to keep my face neutral. My mind was racing, trying to piece everything together. Ryan Carter, my coworker, my friend, and I had no idea where he lived. That realization hit me like a truck. A month ago, Ryan had invited everyone to his housewarming party. He had just bought his first home, and the whole office had been buzzing about it. I had planned to go, excited to celebrate with my friend. But that same week I got sick. A nasty flu that left me bedridden for days. Sarah had gone to the party alone, telling me she'd represent both of us. I hadn't thought much of it at the time. I trusted her. I trusted both of them. Now the pieces were falling into place. Ryan's new house. The address Sarah had been visiting every night. They were the same. I felt physically sick. My hands trembled as I clutched my phone. Sarah wasn't just lying about work. She was spending her nights at Ryan's house, and I had no idea why. But I was going to find out. Ryan Carter, my coworker, my friend, the man I had trusted for years, owned the house Sarah had been visiting late at night. The realization that hit me like a freight train. I wanted to believe there was some innocent explanation, but deep down, I knew better. That evening, I kept my routine normal, acting as if nothing had changed. Sarah came home at her usual late hour, greeted me with a distracted nod, and went straight to the shower. No hug, no kiss, not even a proper conversation. I sat on the couch pretending to watch TV while my mind raced. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a towel, she casually asked, "You ate already, right?" I forced a smile. "Yeah, long day." She nodded, walking past me toward the bedroom. I clenched my jaw. Another lie. Another night she'd be at Ryan's house. I barely slept that night, my mind playing out every worst-case scenario. The next morning, as soon as she left, I made my decision. I needed proof. That night, instead of going home after work, I parked a few blocks away from Ryan's house. My hands were clammy against the steering wheel, my heart beat erratic. I felt like a fool for doing this, but I had to know. An hour passed, then two. Just when I started to question myself, a familiar car rolled into the driveway. Sarah. My stomach dropped as I watched her step out, dressed in a way that made my blood run cold. Heels, a fitted dress, her hair styled perfectly. She walked up to the front door without hesitation, knocked once, and disappeared inside. Every muscle in my body tensed. I wanted to storm up there, bang on the door, demand answers, but I held back. If I confronted her now, she'd deny everything. She'd twist the truth, gaslight me into thinking I was paranoid. I needed undeniable proof. I grabbed my phone and started recording. My camera zoomed in on the house. 30 minutes passed, then an hour. The lights inside stayed dim, but I caught glimpses of movement through the curtains, shadows shifting, laughter faintly reaching my ears when the front door opened briefly. My grip on the phone tightened. Just as I was about to leave, something happened that made my entire body go numb. The front door opened, and standing there, laughing, smiling, looking completely at ease, was Ryan. He leaned against the doorframe as Sarah reached up, smoothing his collar in a way that felt far too intimate. Then, without hesitation, she leaned in and kissed him. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. My ears started ringing. The woman I had loved for years, the woman I had married, was standing in another man's doorway, kissing him like I had never existed. And not just any man, my friend, my coworker, someone I had trusted completely. The air felt thick, suffocating. My chest tightened as if the walls were closing in. This was it. This was the moment my world collapsed. But even through the devastation, one thing became painfully clear. This wasn't some one-time mistake. This was a full-blown affair. I forced myself to turn away, gripping my phone so tightly my fingers ached. I had the proof I needed. But as I sat in my car, numb and furious, I knew this wasn't just about infidelity anymore. Something deeper was going on, something calculated. Sarah had been acting distant for months, avoiding conversations, keeping secrets. And now, she was openly affectionate with Ryan in a way that suggested this wasn't new. It had been happening for a while. I exhaled shakily, trying to push away the overwhelming emotions suffocating me. My mind screamed at me to think logically. If she had been planning this for months, what else had she been planning? I sat frozen in my car, gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. Ryan Carter, my coworker, my friend, the man I had trusted for years, owned the house Sarah had been visiting late at night. And now she was standing in his doorway, kissing him like I had never existed. My ears rang, my heart pounded against my ribs, and for the first time in my life I felt truly powerless. I'd suspected something was wrong, but seeing it unfold in front of me, it was like having the air ripped from my lungs. I forced myself to stay put. My body screamed at me to get out, to storm up to that door and demand answers. But I knew that would be a mistake. If I confronted her now, she'd deny it, gaslight me, twist everything until I was the one feeling guilty. But I needed to be smart. I needed more. I kept recording every second of their interaction. The way she laughed at something Ryan said, the way his hand rested too comfortably on her waist. Then finally the door shut, and the house went quiet. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, my entire body shaking. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a full-blown affair. But something still didn't add up. Sarah had been acting distant for months, long before I even suspected anything. She wasn't just being secretive about Ryan. She had been secretive about everything. I exhaled shakily, my brain trying to piece everything together. And then, just as I was about to start my car and drive home, my phone buzzed. A message from Sarah. "Hey babe, work is crazy tonight. Don't wait up. Love you." A fresh wave of anger surged through me. She was sitting in another man's house, probably on his couch or in his bed, sending me texts like nothing was happening. I locked my phone and threw it onto the passenger seat. That's when I saw it. Sarah's laptop. It had been sitting in my car all day. This morning she had asked me to drop it off at a repair shop on my way to work, saying it had been acting slow. I had completely forgotten about it. For a moment, I just stared at it. My pulse quickened. Sarah never let her laptop out of her sight. If something was wrong with it, she would have fixed it herself. But today, she had handed it to me, almost like she wanted it out of the house. Slowly, I reached over and flipped it open. The screen was black. I pressed the power button, expecting it to boot up, but instead, a small notification popped up in the corner. Document upload, 87% complete. I frowned. Uploading? Uploading what? I clicked the notification. A progress bar was moving steadily across the screen, and above it was a folder title that made my blood run cold. Financial Records. Ryan. My breath caught in my throat. Heart hammering, I quickly opened the folder. Inside were dozens of spreadsheets, bank statements, transaction logs, all tied to accounts I'd never seen before. And then, at the bottom of the folder, one document stood out. Divorce Settlement Proposal, Draft 3. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. My vision blurred as I clicked on it. The document opened and there it was, a full breakdown of assets, bank accounts, property to division. Sarah had already drafted a divorce settlement, and in it she was preparing to take everything. I scrolled through, my hands shaking violently. She had listed our shared assets, our house, our savings, my investments, and systematically reassigned them. And Ryan? His name was everywhere. Attached to new accounts linked to assets that were previously mine. Sarah hadn't just been cheating, she had been planning this for months. My stomach churned. I wanted to scream, to break something, to drive straight to that house and destroy everything in sight. But I didn't. Instead, I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to think clearly. They thought they were being careful. They thought I was clueless. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I had everything I needed. The affair, caught on camera, the stolen money, logged in her hidden financial records, the divorce settlement proposal, a signed death sentence for her plan. But just having the evidence wasn't enough. I wanted her to feel it, to watch her entire scheme collapse around her, leaving her with nothing but regret. I wasn't going to just leave her. I was going to destroy her. The next morning I played my part perfectly. Sarah acted the same, carefree, distracted, like she wasn't plotting behind my back. "I might be late again tonight," she said casually over breakfast. I smiled. "Yeah? Another big project?" She nodded, sipping her coffee like nothing was wrong. "Yeah, you know how it is." "Oh, I do," I said smoothly. "Actually, I was thinking of treating you to something nice soon. Maybe a surprise?" Her eyes flicked up. "Oh? What kind of surprise?" I shrugged. "Something special. You've been working so hard lately. You deserve a little reward." She grinned, completely oblivious. "That sounds amazing." Inside, I was laughing. She had no idea what was coming. That night, I wasn't alone. I'd called my lawyer and a private investigator, the two people who could make sure Sarah's little scheme blew up in her face. We parked a few blocks away from Ryan's house. I handed the USB drive to my lawyer. "Everything's in here, bank records, stolen transfers, proof of the affair. I want to make sure she doesn't take a single cent from me." He nodded. "With this, she won't." The private investigator smirked. She thought she was smart. You just outplayed her. I exhaled slowly, then stepped out of the car. "Let's end this." I knocked. Ryan opened the door, his expression shifting from confusion to dread. "What the hell?" I didn't give him a chance to finish. "I'm here for my wife." Sarah appeared behind him wearing one of his shirts, a wine glass in hand. The moment she saw me, she went pale. "Are you insane? How dare you come here?" I pulled out the USB drive and tossed it onto the table inside. "Go ahead, take a look." Sarah hesitated before picking it up, her fingers trembling. "I don't understand." I turned to my lawyer, who handed her a thick envelope. "Divorce papers," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "Already filed. You're going to sign them, and you're walking away with nothing." Her breath hitched. "You... Oh, and in case you are thinking of fighting this?" I cut her off, crossing my arms. "I already forwarded everything on that USB to your boss, your lawyer, and a few key people." Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. Ryan stiffened. "Wait, what?" I smiled coldly. "You didn't know? Sarah wasn't just cheating, she was embezzling money. And your name? It's all over those transactions." Ryan's face drained of color. "Ryan, you said this was foolproof. What the hell is happening?" Sarah turned to him, shaking her head violently. No, he's lying. Ryan, don't listen to him." I pulled out my phone. "Really? Then maybe you want to explain this?" I hit play. A familiar voice filled the room. Sarah's voice. "Are you sure everything is set up? I don't want any mistakes." A brief pause. Then Ryan's voice came through, smug and confident. "Relax, babe. The money transfers are almost done. He won't notice a thing. I don't want to take any chances. He's smart." Ryan chuckled. "Not that smart." Sarah went rigid. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Ryan took a step back from her, realization dawning in his eyes. "You told me it was safe." "Ryan, please," she whispered, voice cracking. "I didn't mean for it to—" "You didn't mean for what?" I asked sharply. "Didn't mean to cheat? Didn't mean to steal from me? Didn't mean to screw over both of us?" Ryan chuckled. "Not that smart." Sarah went rigid. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Ryan took a step back from her, realization dawning in his eyes. "You told me it was safe." "Ryan, please," she whispered, voice cracking. "I didn't mean for it to—" "You didn't mean for what?" I asked sharply. "Didn't mean to cheat? Didn't mean to steal from me? Didn't mean to screw over both of us?" Her whole body shook. She looked at me, then at Ryan, then back at me. For the first time, she realized she had lost everything. I turned back to Ryan. "You might want to get a good lawyer, because when the cops start looking into those transfers, your name is right next to hers." Ryan backed away. His face was pale, his jaw clenched. You're insane." "No," I said, stepping closer to Sarah. "She is, for thinking she could play me and win." Sarah let out a choked sob. "Listen, let's just talk. We can figure something out." I tilted my head. "No, sweetheart. We're done talking." Then without another word, I walked away. Behind me, I heard Ryan yelling, Sarah sobbing. I didn't stop, didn't look back, because this was exactly the ending they deserved. As I walked out, the night air felt different, lighter. For so long, I had been trapped in a web of lies, blind to the truth staring me in the face. But that's the thing about betrayal. It's never about losing the other person. It's about losing the illusion of who you thought they were. Betrayal teaches you that not everyone who stands beside you is truly with you. That love built on deceit was never love to begin with, and most importantly, it reminds you that the people who betray you don't break you, they reveal you. They show you how strong you are, how much you can endure, how much you deserve better. Pain fades, scars heal. But the lesson, that stays. I wasn't walking away broken, I was walking away stronger, because in the end, losing someone who never valued you isn't really a loss at all. It's a second chance to find something real,